Good evening. Good evening. It's so good to be here with you tonight. Grateful for Brian Scopa. He's a parishioner here, retired Navy commander. And when he came, before he came and before I got to meet Brian, I was asked about this need to prepare in our parish specifically for situations that we don't want to usually discuss. What would happen if we would have an active shooter. And so just one of those things that we wanted to do is to create a program for not only our staff, which we have already done this training with our staff. We did it for the parish center. Don't know if some of you overlapped with the parish center training that we did. And then of course, specifically, we wanted to train for our parish itself. So we've asked our mass coordinators, a lot of our lectors, Eucharistic ministers, those who are involved in liturgical functions that might be present to help us, especially in these situations. So grateful for Brian. He brought his son Jackson, and he had his Nerf gun. I was like, this is the one time this is allowed in the church, you know? But needless to say, it'll be an informative night. Again, it's not usually a topic we want to have to cover in our church, or in a situation when we're talking about worship, but it's always good to be prepared, and just grateful for Brian and his time. So just pass it on to Brian.
Thank you, Father. It's an honor to be here tonight. It's an honor to be part of our parish and to help continue to serve. A little bit about me. I am a retired commander in the Navy. I have a Master of Arts degree in National Strategic Studies from the Navy War College with an emphasis in terrorism. Kind of timely. It was really timely back in 2010. And I have an undergrad degree in psychology from U of I. I have 20 plus years of active duty. I finished my career as a commanding officer of the Small Shore Command, and I'm an ALICE certified instructor. So let's move into our safety for tonight, right? Because we're having an education portion, and we're doing a couple of drills, some training portion, and we want to make sure that we're safe throughout, and we all understand what's going to go on tonight, right? So there are only two weapons that are going to be in play tonight. There's this orange rubber gun, okay? And there's this awesome Nerf gun I don't let my son play with. Okay, that's it. If you see anything other than this, it is not a simulation. And if you have a weapon on you, if you have a firearm or a knife, we're going to take a break at the end of the PowerPoint portion. Please take that to your car and lock it up, right? We're not going to have any live weapons with us during the training portion. Also, please don't call 911. We're going to talk a lot about calling 911. We're going to talk about how to call 911. We're going to talk about when you would call 911. But we're not actually calling 911, okay? We all agree with that, right? Okay. Because it's going to get real exciting, and Father's going to get upset, and we're going to have some drama with the Aurora Police Department, which I do not want to have. Okay. Like Father was saying, it's kind of a difficult subject, right? We're going to talk about active shooters. We're going to talk about violent critical incidents. We're going to talk about mass murder, which we hear a lot about in the press in present-day America, right, in 2024. So if at any point this upsets you, go take a break. Walk outside, scroll through Instagram, say a couple Hail Marys, whatever you need to do. It's not going to hurt my feelings. If you need to just get up and stand in the back of the room because you're tired of sitting, feel free, right? We're going to do an exercise at the end, a couple drills. If you don't feel up for doing that, you don't need to do it. If you're not physically capable, we're going to have a little observation section probably over here where you can just sit there and watch it while everybody else goes through it. Totally fine. And if you don't want to stick around for that portion at all, that's okay too. Any point you have questions, whatever, throw your hand up, shout my name, and let's talk about it. We had a great session in the gym for the program staff, and it went kind of long. It was also over dinner. But we had a great interactive discussion. And you guys probably have a lot of questions about this subject that doesn't get addressed on the news, right? You get a lot of hype, you get a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt told to you, and that's actually a really good data behind this that you guys really don't get exposed to in the popular press and the media, which I think a lot of it, if you knew more about it, you would feel a little more at ease. Questions? Okay. Okay, so what are we here for tonight? Well, we're going to learn how to respond effectively in the remote chance that we get caught up in an active shooter situation. And I mean remote. Anybody want to guess how many times it happens a year in this country? I mean, you hear it all over the news, right? It seems like every other day. Anybody want to guess? 10? 15? Higher? Lower? Over? Under? Higher? 50? You go 30? It's a lot less than you think. So most of the shootings you hear about, like, oh, there has been 68 mass shootings this year in this country, and it's more than any other country anywhere. Most of those shootings are gang wars, right? Between gangs over drugs, right? And that's not something that you guys need to be afraid about, because you guys aren't in gangs, and you're not fighting over drug territory. At least I hope not. Now, if you confess that on weekends to Father Michael, obviously he can't share that with me, I don't know. But we're talking about a very small subset of mass shootings in this country. And it comes out to about 6 or 7 a year for the past 6 years in this country. So it's a lot less than you think. And we define that by saying a shooting of 4 or more people, right, where there's not another crime being committed at the same time. So it's a lot smaller than you probably think. I got some great notes here from actually the Secret Service. The U.S. Secret Service puts together a wonderful report on this. And let's talk a little bit about who conducts these type of attacks, right? Would it surprise you to know that half of the attacks happen at businesses? Okay. What percentage do you think of these attacks happen at houses of worship or religious affiliated organizations? Throw some numbers out. If you know, how much? 1%. Less than 1%. 3. It's 3%, right? And in fact, it's only 8% at K through 12 schools, colleges, and universities. So it's very small. And we'll go into a little bit why that is. The type of person who conducts this type of attack. What's their sex? Male. 96% male. Okay? 3% female. 64% have a history of criminal arrests. Okay? A lot of them have domestic violence history, right? 41%. History of mental health problems, 58%. Illicit drug use, 34%. Bullying and harassing, 36%. The people who do this doesn't come out of nowhere, right? And I would argue that the incident rate is so low at churches because of what we do here every day, building that community, building those connections. The person who conducts one of these attacks doesn't plan to live, right? This is a very violent suicide where they want to share their pain with people. They're not part of this community. People who come here to be part of this community are accepted, they have friends, they have support structure, and you guys provide all of that for them. You guys are preventing violence every day for being a part of this. So for that, I commend you. Majority of this are done with a pistol, right? We see assault rifles on the news, very scary. Majority are done with just a pistol. Half of them had a grievance with the place they shot up. Any other questions about like demographics, percentages? One of the biggest indicators of a pending attack is people in their life were worried about them, felt concern that they might hurt themselves or others. In over 2/3 of the cases, somebody kind of saw this coming, right? Yes, ma'am.
So in that situation, when the police have been called multiple times about this person, how come that person still gets a gun? Or
A lot of the times, the police don't get called. A lot of times, the police don't get called. So I don't know if Illinois has a red flag law where you can call up and say, I'm worried about the mental health of my spouse, brother, whatever, and they come and the police will confiscate the guns. I think Illinois does. I could be wrong. For most of these cases, no one made the call. Everybody was worried, but no one made the call. They didn't call the principal, they didn't call the teacher, they didn't call the parish priest, they didn't call the police. They're like, I was worried about him, he's kind of coming off the rails. And then what? All right, questions on that? Okay, it's a remote chance, right? Do I wake up every morning, and I got a master's degree in this, do I wake up every morning worried about this? I don't. Do I think about this when I drop my kids off at school? I don't. It's like being struck by lightning. But also I take reasonable precautions, so that I know that I'm ready to the best of my ability. And that's what we're doing here tonight. So, I want you all to leave feeling empowered and not anxious. And if you feel anxious, you come talk to me. Okay, and we'll set up time afterwards. We'll have coffee or something. Okay? Okay, so Alice is the system. The company is Navigate 360. It's industry standard right now. It's pretty good. I really like it. I got trained on it. I got certified in it last year. So there's two portions of it. There's the awareness and communication portion, pre-incident, or is the incident starting? And then there's your response options after the incident's already started. And we'll start with the first and then go to the latter. So does anybody know what situational awareness is? Can anybody define that for me? Being aware of your surroundings. Just paying attention to what's going on. Knowing who's behind you, who came in through the door, where your exits are. How many exits are in this room? 5? Anybody else want to disagree? 6? 6? I think it's 6. Father? 6? I think it's 6. Yeah, you got to go through the chapel door on the other side, right? That's good. That's good to know when you walk into a building, right? You should just know how to get out if you need to in a hurry for any number of reasons, right? So your situational awareness is your perception of the environment around you and comprehending what's going on in the environment. You guys are all experts in your lives. You are all experts in what's going on in your house, in your neighborhood, at your work, and at your church, right? As long as you're paying attention. You want to call it the Holy Spirit, you want to call it, 500 million years of competitive evolution on this planet, whatever. If you listen to that voice, it will tell you something is going wrong, right? But only if you're paying attention. Only if you're not just doom scrolling Instagram, like while you're walking through life, okay? So we're going to talk about something called the Cooper Color Code of Awareness. Has anybody heard of this? That seems unlikely. Maybe outside of military and law enforcement. We have a question? Yes, sir.
Where the exits are isn't just for a shooting situation. If there's a fire or whatever, everybody goes to the place they came in, but nobody's thinking about that one and that one and that one and that one. And then some people have a secret exit.
That's right. That's right. People do typically just run to the place that they came in, right? And it's not just shooting, it is fire, it's any number of emergencies.
A restaurant, hotel, anything.
That's just a good thing to know. When you walk in the door, you should just know how you would get out. And that might take you all of 10 seconds to figure out and just store it in the back of your mind and then not worry about it. All right, so the Cooper Color Code of Awareness is about different levels of situational awareness, right? So the lowest level is white. You are unaware and unprepared. You're oblivious to your environment. White is a very fun place to be on a resort on vacation, in your living room watching Yellowstone, or whatever it is, Real Housewives or something, I don't know, right? When you're someplace that you're completely safe and you know you can relax and you can wake up on the couch hours later and it's no big deal. White's a great place, a very comfortable place to be. You do not want to be in a white situational awareness zone in public. You just really don't, right? Where do you want to be? You want to be in yellow. You're relaxed, but you're alert. You're paying attention to what's going on. You're seeing the people who come in and out of your office at work, right? You know where the exits are. You're able to do your work, but you're also kind of listening to what's going on around you, right? If somebody walks in the door, you look at them, you make eye contact, you go back to what you're doing. This is where you want to spend probably 99% of your time in public, right? Whether we're at church, whether we're at the office, the gym or whatever. Gym's a little different, a little more focused maybe. But this is just a good place to be at. Where we don't want to be, right, is just on our phone the whole time. Like, do you see people like that? People almost get hit by cars in crosswalks doing all kinds of crazy stuff because they're just not paying attention to what's going around them. If you're in yellow, it's hard to surprise you. You got a good idea of what's going on. And if you need to shift upward to higher levels of situational awareness, it's a lot easier, right? You're ready to do that. If you're in white and something goes wrong, you got to grind a lot of mental gears just to catch up to what's going on, and that's very difficult. Okay? So, next we have orange. You have a heightened level of awareness. You know that something's not right. Something's going wrong, but you don't know quite why. So you start to get curious, probably. You start to look around. You stepped out of your cubicle. Maybe you go investigate, you hear voices, right? So what are some things that would tip you off to go from yellow to orange? Yes, ma'am? You see a backpack. You find a package or a backpack that you kind of left somewhere. That could be odd, right? Yeah. What else? Body language. Somebody comes in, everybody else is relaxed, and they're kind of hunched over, and they seem upset. Maybe a scowling face, yeah? What else?
Sometimes that sixth sense of the hair on the back of your neck.
The hair on the back of your neck, again.
For no reason, you don't know why, but it's happening, and sometimes it's...
You're comprehending something you can't put into words yet. Don't ignore that feeling.
No.
That feeling is priceless. That feeling is all your higher brain functions processing through something you can't put to words yet, but you know. So don't seek to disconfirm that feeling. Don't go, well, I'm just going to make sure everything's all right. I'm going to go figure out what's going on. What's another thing that might tip you off? Yes, ma'am? Arguing. Yeah. Elevated voices. Tension. Arguments, especially at work, right? But just about anywhere. When, in Walmart, you hear people start raising their voices and getting upset. That's a good time to be somewhere else, right? Okay. Questions? Okay. Red. It's happening. Something's happening. Neighbor's pit bull gets out and it's jumping on you. You got to react, right? You hear gunshots. You got to react. Somebody pulls a knife on you, wants your wallet. You got to do something. Like, you are in it. Your life might not be totally on the line, but it might, right? And you need to take some sort of action. We'll talk about that here in a minute. It's not too difficult to go from yellow or orange to red, right? It's almost impossible to go from white right to red, unless you're really trained. I mean, if you're military, police, something like that, maybe. Hard for other people. Okay, there's one more, and it's not good. Black. This is when you are totally unprepared for what's going on. You haven't thought about it, you haven't planned it, you haven't practiced it, you haven't even contemplated it. And your body, your brain just shuts down, right? There's fight, there's flight, and then there's freeze. If you get into the black, you're done, right? You're not capable of taking your own actions. Someone's going to have to lead you through whatever happens next. You might not even really have a good idea of what's going on around you. We want to avoid this. This is avoidable in almost all situations for most people, with a little bit of forethought, right? With a little bit of just kind of gaming through it in your head, just a little bit of situational awareness. You guys are all capable of staying out of this. You don't have to be a Navy SEAL to avoid this, but you need to put a little bit of effort into it, right? Yes, sir?
That's deer in the headlights.
That's deer in headlights, right? Just totally locked up. But you can avoid that, again, by just running through a couple scenarios, just by staying on top of it, by having the confidence to know that you can do what's right? That you can do what needs to be done. All right. Pretty good. You guys like that? It's useful. It's a good tool. Okay, so the A in ALICE stands for alert. This is the initial awareness received by your senses and the first notification of danger. It can come from different senses. You could see it. You could see someone with weird body language. You could see someone come into church in July with a long coat on, kind of standing awkwardly like they're holding something, right? That's something weird to see. You could see people arguing or shoving. You could hear people yelling, right? Elevated voices, someone pounding on a door. You might hear gunshots, right? You hear gunshots, you're in the red now, right? You got to do something. What's something you might smell that would tip you off? Smoke, whether it's gun smoke or just something else that's lit on fire, right? What's another way you might get alerts? Not from your senses, in the lower left. You might get a text alert. Has anybody signed up for Aurora Alert? I am. Has anybody ever got a text from Aurora Alert? You have. I have not. You get them all the time?
In fact, when there was a Pratt shooting,
Yeah.
I got an alert.
Father and I didn't. We signed up for it. We haven't got any alerts from Aurora Alert. I got like an email into the mayor's office trying to help me figure that out. Okay, text is good, right? A local emergency alert system is good, right? You might get a text message from somebody else. Yeah.
Here's all the alerts.
Okay. Well, I got to make sure I'm signed up right because I did something wrong. Clearly, I'm not prepared. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's an unknown in the unknown folder. That's a good point. Okay. The church sends out alerts, right? We all got alerts for this weekend. First reconciliation, we get stuff all the time. That's a great way to relay that information, right? Okay, so the information. Let's say we are in a violent, critical incident. We see somebody with a gun. We hear shooting. What kind of information are we going to share? Yeah, where we are, where it's coming from. We're going to use plain language. We're not going to use code words. Has anybody ever been at work where they have code words for different emergencies? Yeah. That's tough, isn't it? The code words change. Not everybody knows what they are. You're not listening. Don't use code words. Use plain language when you communicate. Alice is an acronym. It's an acronym. So it's not, the problem with Alice is it's not in order. So the A was alert, the I is information. We'll get through all of them, I promise, but they're not in order, which is not intuitive. Okay, so you get this information, and then you want to provide information to other individuals to know what to do. Like, hey, you call up your friend, hey, I'm at the church, we're coming in, and I see there's somebody in the parking lot with a rifle. You know, you want to pass that along, right? So you can tell people, you need to get out of there now, or you guys should lock down. Everybody should run, right? So you have different options. How are you going to get that information out? Phones are great, apps are great. Is anybody in like a WhatsApp group with other people in your family? WhatsApp or Signal? What do people use? What are the other apps? Snapchat? GroupMe? The Fit Shepherds use GroupMe, right? That's a great way to put those out. Do any of the volunteers, you have a volunteer chat group or a text group or something like that? That could be good, right? Share with your family the same way. Public address system. We had questions about that. I'm not sure we resolved the PA system in the building. But, okay. Questions on this? How are we going to get that information out, right? Any way we can, as quick as we can. Okay, we want to say, where's the intruder? What are they wearing, right? So people know what to be on the lookout for. If you see a weapon, what kind of weapon is it? The vast majority of shootings are done with a pistol. A small percentage are done with rifles. Some are done with both. But in general, you want to be able to relay that information because that's important for the police when they show up to know what they're getting into, right? Classroom portions more for schools. How do we make who's ever made a 911 call? Is it easy? It's not bad, right? Can it be a little nerve-wracking? Right, depending on what you have to report, it can. Yes, ma'am?
You can't text 911.
You cannot text 911. That's right. It's probably a good thing, too. Yeah. Oh, will they? They'll text you back if you text 911? Yeah. Well, that's cool.
because they figure
Maybe you were trying to get help.
and they need to be more discreet.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. That's a great feature.
They text you stuff like, are you, there's like big capital letters.
Yeah. Are you all right? That's good. Okay. So, when do you call 911? When you're safe. When you are personally safe. Do not risk your life to call 911 before you're not safe, right? Because if a shooting starts, it's going to continue till one of a couple things happen. One, till the police show up and confront the shooter with deadly force, probably. Two, the shooter completes what he wants to do or gets frustrated, because a lot of these guys commit suicide at the end of it, right? That was kind of the whole point of the act. Or three, the people in the vicinity get control of the shooter. Remove the weapon, take control, and hold him down, right? So the majority of these cases are resolved by the police showing up. You gotta get the police here. So if you don't complete that 911 call and you're the person who saw it first, that's bad. Look after yourself first. Protect yourself first. When it's safe to do so, call 911 and get the police here. I had a great meeting. Yes, ma'am.
I was told by several people that 911 being put in on a cell phone is not as effective as a house phone. Is there some special way if you use a cell phone that different things come up?
That's a good question. So the nice thing about a landline, right, is it's tied to one distinct address. We have E911 in this country on all of our cell phones, which provides a location to the 911 system. There's some question about the quality of that data, though, depending on which towers you're tied to, and just the fidelity of the data coming through. So yes, a house line is more accurate if you've got it, but the best phone is the one you can get to safely and quickly, right?
Because house phones are even voice over IP sometimes.
House phones can be voice over IP, and if your address isn't...
Version of house phones.
Yeah, if your house phone voice over IP through your cable company isn't registered to the right address, you can still have similar problems. Yes, ma'am? What's that? You know, I don't have a cellular connection on my Apple Watch. Does it, you can call 911 on yours? There's an emergency? Yeah? Respond in a certain amount of time? That's good. You will get an ambulance. You will probably not get a police response.
Well, a lot of times, police will come first because they can interface.
True. If that's all you've got and you can trigger it while you're hiding in a closet or something like that, you should do that. But absolutely, if you can get to 911, if you can get to it while you're safe, get yourself to safety first so you can complete the call and you can get the best call and the best information, right? 911, what's your emergency? And you're going to respond, there's an active shooter at All Saints Catholic Academy, Our Lady of Mercy, my workplace at, give the address. I saw how many shooters? How many shooters are there typically in these incidents? One. The first report always comes out, there's two, there's three. 99% of these incidents is one shooter, right? Which is good, because it means if you know where the shooter is and you're getting away, you're not running into something else. And in the very, very few incidents where there are multiple shooters, they stayed together. They didn't come in from different directions, right? So more than likely one shooter. He has a rifle. He has a pistol. He is wearing a black trench coat. It's kind of their uniform, actually. It is. It's a social contagion, right? A lot of the people who do this, especially the teenagers, younger men who do this, they have kind of a script they follow to be a part of it. So watch out for black trench coats, black duster coats. Weird. Questions on that? We're not making any calls tonight, though, right? Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, on to the E in Alice. It's out of order. Stick with me. Evacuation. This is my favorite, right? Because if you're not there to get shot, you are not there to get shot. Who goes to church on Sunday to get shot? Nobody. Who goes to church on Tuesday, or work on Tuesday to get shot? Nobody. Nobody goes anywhere to get shot. So if something's going down and you can get out. And then you're not there to get shot. Then you can make your 911 call. Then you can be the hero that got the police in there to save a bunch of lives, right? Who has permission to evacuate? Everybody. Everybody all the time. Do you need to ask your boss's permission at work to evacuate for a shooting? No. Do you need to ask Father's permission to evacuate during Mass? No. Do your kids need to ask permission to evacuate? No. Just get out. If you can see where the shooting is coming from, if you know where the shooter is, and you have a good avenue of escape, don't be there. Be anywhere else but there. Right? Don't go back for your purse. Don't go back for your jacket. If you can bring your cell phone with you, that's good. Don't go back for your cell phone. Right? You can get a new cell phone. Your family can't get a new you. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the cell phone reminded me of one of the many shootings that we've had relatively recently. There was a person who went back for her cell phone.
Yeah.
And wanting to be able to call 911 to warn others, and she was shot.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes seconds count, right? It's like leaving your carry-on bag on the plane in the plane crash while you evacuate, right? People get caught up trying to get their luggage off, like when their lives are on the line. That's a normal thing if you're in the white zone all the time, right? If you hadn't considered it, if you haven't thought about it, don't go back to your desk. If you got a clear access, like a clear exit, leave. Don't be there. If you have a rally point, head there. You might not. You might, depending. If it's a school, if it's a workplace. We don't have a rally point. But we have so many exits, I don't know that I would want to have a rally point, because it's better just to have everybody disperse, right? Okay. Lockdown. This is the L. We're at the second letter finally, but like the fifth thing in. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Rally point, I mean, would you consider that a family unit could have a rally point? Like because he just said, I'm not going out where I came in, I'm going where the closest exit is.
That's right.
And if for some reason,
If you get separated,
we get separated, we should have a rally point. So it might not be for the whole church to have a rally point, but
that's a good thing to discuss as a family. The same way if you go to like an amusement park, you should have a place you meet up if you guys get separated or something like that. I wouldn't, how old are you? About 6th grade?
12.
Okay, 6th grade. I wouldn't put it on younger kids than that,
no.
but I think it's age appropriate. Yeah.
He comes to church with me, so he needs to know.
That's right. That's right. Okay, lockdown. You can't get out because evacuation is the best. Because if you're not there to get shot, you're not there to get shot. All right, you got to lock down now. You got to find a way to secure the door. If there's a lock on the door, use the lock. Having a locked door increases your odds of surviving one of these shootings by 25%. Just lock in the door. All right, that's it. If you don't have a lock on the door, you're going to have to barricade it somehow. Doors that open in are the easiest to barricade. You can jam a bunch of stuff in front of it. You can put a door stop underneath it. You can put tables in front of you. You can do all kinds of stuff, right? And that's important because these incidents last, how long do these incidents last typically? 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. They're all almost over that long, right? And the person who's doing this knows that. The person typically has done the research, right? And they know they got 5 to 10 minutes. And they're trying to make as big a splash as they can. And they're trying to get their name out there and trying to be notable. So if you're behind a locked door and they come to the door and they can't open it, are they going to spend 2 minutes trying to kick it in? Probably not. Right? Because that's wasting their time. They have minutes left to live and to do what they want to do. And every time you do something like this, you frustrate them and you eat into that clock and you give the cops time to respond. I had a good discussion with Aurora PD a couple months ago. If you report an active shooter, I mean, you're going to get everybody. You're going to get all the cops. Naperville, Aurora, you're going to get everybody. And they're going to be here at 90 miles an hour. And they're probably going to be here within 2 minutes, 3 maybe. And they're going to come in. So you don't have to hold out for long, probably. Lockdown's hard if you don't have a lock on the door, though. Something you should look at. You can use extension cords. If you have a handle lock like that, you can tie the extension cord around it, right? If it opens outwards, and tie it to something heavy in the room to keep from opening. That's good. There's pretty good YouTube videos on this. I could send out some additional resources if you guys want, but if you work in an office or someplace where this might be a concern, you should spend just a little bit of time thinking about it, maybe practicing it. Not really applicable here, right? Because just wide open, as we're about to see. Again, doors that open in are a lot easier to barricade than doors that open out. In either case, don't be in front of the door, because the door is not going to stop bullets if they do shoot through the door, which has happened in a couple of these incidents, right? Okay, once the door is locked or controlled, spread out in the room. Don't be in front of the door. Be ready to take action if they do get in, right? That's a good time for you to take action because they don't know what's in the room just yet, and you might be close to the door. Get your hands on them. If you can, call 911. If you need to be quiet, just be quiet, right? If it's not safe to call 911, don't do that. Last one's, again, for schools, so we're not going to really touch on that. All right. Let's talk about cover versus concealment. Anybody military vet here? Police? What service?
Army.
Thank you for your service. Hoo-ah, Army. What's cover? Could you define cover for us?
You can find to protect yourself from harm.
Anything you can find to protect yourself from bullets. Anything that'll stop a bullet is cover, right? Anything you can hide behind where they can't see you is concealment. So on the left, that brick fence is covered. You can hide behind that and somebody could shoot at you all day. You'll be fine. If you hide behind the wood fence, that is not going to stop a bullet. So your desk at work is not going to stop a bullet unless it's a huge mahogany monster, which probably it isn't, right? We're fortunate in this building that all the brick walls will stop bullets. That's great. Honestly, these wood pews are pretty thick. Maybe 2, maybe 3 of them would probably stop a bullet. But this is important, right? So it can be useful to hide behind something. Just take into account whether it's actually going to stop a bullet or if it's just going to hide you, right? Can you hide behind your car? Yeah, in a parking lot. Great. Stand in front of the, stand next to the wheels, the tires, right, so they don't see your feet. Is your car going to stop a bullet? No. There's nothing in your car that'll stop a bullet. The engine block, maybe the transmission, but you're not that low. Okay? Cover versus concealment. All right. Last but not least, we're down to the counter strategy. We didn't get out. We couldn't evacuate for whatever reason. We aren't able to lock down, and now we are face to face with the person who is committing this terrible action, right? So we got 2 options here. We can distract them, or we can try to control them. So distraction techniques. We're trying to get inside their head. We're trying to overwhelm their decision-making process, right? Which is what my kids do every time I drive. Okay. Who here is good at multitasking? No, you're not. You're not. You might be good at switching between multiple tasks, and women are better at that than men are. But you can't do 2 things at a time. And every time you switch mentally from one task to another, there's a cognitive tax there. There's a break of maybe 1/3 of a second, maybe 1/2 of a second, maybe a second and a half before your brain can focus again. And in that space, there's opportunity to interrupt somebody who is conducting an incident like this, right? So you make space for another option or strategy. You use things around you. Your water bottle would be good. A hot pot of coffee is great. You can throw the songbook. You hit somebody over the head with this. That would just be distracting, right? And the pathway to the brain is through visual cortex here, right? 80% of your sensory input is visual. And your brain is going to protect its face, right? So anything coming at your face is going to cause you to flinch. It's going to cause you to turn away, cause you to put your hands up, maybe drop the weapon you're holding, right? So we're trying to disrupt their visual pathway, and we're trying to make them protect their face. Here's another military acronym. Who has heard of the OODA loop? This is like greatest hits for me. It's just so easy to come back to this stuff. I like it. It's like all this military stuff I've been doing for years is like now in the civilian world. It's cool. So OODA is an acronym. It was created in the Cold War by a famous Air Force colonel, strategic planner, to describe a decision-making process, any decision-making process, right? And the 4 stages are observe first, orient, decide, and act. And we're constantly doing this all the time in all of our conscious processes, right? So I'm thirsty. I've been talking for a while up here. It's a little bit warm. I observe I have a water bottle. I turn towards it. I orient myself. I decide I should take a drink right now because I'm getting a little parched. I pick it up, I unscrew it, and I drink. That's my OODA loop, right? I just made that whole decision in probably a second, maybe less. Now, if I was doing that, and I was getting ready to grab it, and my son screamed out at me about anything, like, I'm hungry, like he's like, you know, can't go 30 seconds without eating or something like that, that would interrupt my loop, right? I would need to recage myself. I would be distracted. I would look at him. I wouldn't know what to do. I would have to get back to getting my water bottle. So if you can get inside the other guy's OODA loop, right? If you can distract him and disrupt him at different levels with your own OODA loop, you can buy time. You can break them out of that, that process that they're in, that task that they're on. And action beats reaction every time, right? It takes, you know, 3/4 of a second to undergo an action that you've decided you want to do, and it takes about 1.5 seconds to react to something that somebody else is doing. There we go. I need a volunteer for this. Who wants to use this awesome laser? No, not you. No way you. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Please do not point this at anybody's face because this is super eye unsafe. You could call it an airstrike with this thing. By the way, this is something I carry sometimes for like active shooter defense. I don't carry a gun, right? But if you put this on someone's face, you don't have to be close to them. And it would be very distracting, maybe even damaging. Okay, ma'am. I want you to hold the laser pointer. You push the button on it. You got the button? Hold it on the red dot. Okay? That's tough, right? If you were moving the dot and someone else had to follow you, they'd be reacting to you, but you're reacting to that. And that's action beats reaction every time, right, guys? So if you can get into someone's OODA loop, if you can distract them, if you can disrupt them, if you can take the initiative with your own actions, you can control the situation. Thank you. All right, this one's for everybody. I want you to count the number of circles. Okay? I'm going to get out of the way. $11, $10, $12, something like that? Okay. There's pretty good consensus, right? Let's try it again. It's going to be 2 different colors. Tell me how many of each. Oh, listen, that's unfair. Let's see. How did we do? What do you think, 13? 14? There's 11 of each in all 3 of those. Can you do 2 things at once? No. No, you can't. Which we can use to our advantage, right? All right, last chance, last strategy here is control. We used to call this fight. Remember run, hide, fight? You guys remember that? It was Department of Homeland Security about 10 years ago. That was pretty good. Now it's called control. I'm not sure exactly why, but maybe it's a little more palatable, right? First of all, get control of the weapon hand. Get your hand on the weapon hand or the wrist. If you can do that, you control the situation, right? Even little old ladies, if you get your hand on that weapon hand, you can hold on, call for help. Yes, you're evacuating, because that's the best, because you're not here to be shot. But if you have to, if you get your hand on the weapon hand, you can end it, right? You take control. And especially if 2 or 3 of you can get your hands, I don't care how big the person is. You grab their arm, right? And just fall to the floor. Take them with you. Get a hand around their neck. Just sit there and wait. Doesn't matter how big they are. 2 or 3 of you guys take just about anybody down. More than that, I mean, great. Pile on. 2 arms, 2 legs. Grab the head. High school students and above. We don't really teach this to junior high and below. Might be useful, I don't know, some of the bigger kids, I guess. Yes, or jujitsu. Right? It's possible. It's not preferred, but you guys could do it if necessary. But you got to get in close, right? You got to distract them. You got to scare them. You got to get them out of that loop, right? Because they got a plan. They've been thinking about this. They've been planning about this. And let's say it doesn't go well, right? Because first of all, you get good information out. You see somebody coming in, you guys share information, and everybody either evacuates or locks down. They're expecting a big crowd, and it doesn't happen. So they're getting frustrated, right? Their fantasy's not playing out. And they go to a couple doors, and the doors are locked. And that's not working well, right? Now they're getting frustrated. They're not paying attention. Now they get into a room, they manage to jam open the door, they look through, and they get hit in the face with a fire extinguisher, right? Right? That's how you disrupt this. This is how you break someone out of their plan and you take control of the situation. And then you just hold them down until the police show up, right? 2 or 3 minutes later, maybe 5, depending. Okay. We're going to practice. We're going to practice. It's not ideal. It's not easy, for sure, but there are some situations where it's your best opportunity. And you would be surprised how a large group of people can overcome that. Okay, let's say you get the person knocked down. Let's say you get the weapon out of their hands. Don't be holding the weapon when the police show up, because you might get shot, right? The police are very good. They're trained. They're really trained on this now, especially. But if you come running out like, I got it, that's a risk you don't want to take, okay? So if you can, put it in a garbage can. The police are all trained on this. They've all seen this brief. If you come out with a garbage can, they will know the weapon's in there, and you'll be okay. Just don't hold it when they come in. That's bad. Questions? That's not bad. 50 minutes or so? Yes, ma'am.
Going back to the lockdown, okay, we know not to go by windows and by the door, but on the corner it says do not cuddle it on the floor.
Yeah, you don't want to all be in a group together. If you can spread out through the room, it's probably better.
Oh, okay.
So let's say for whatever reason, let's say we were able to barricade those doors. We're all in here, and those doors are barricaded. We would want to be along that wall, right? Because someone would shoot in and there'd be an arc of fire, like a wedge about that wide. So if you're in a room kind of shaped like this, depending, they might, especially if the walls like this are bulletproof, they're not going to be able to shoot around that corner, and you want to be in that kind of that safe zone on the side. But don't hide in like that corner there, where they're all the bullets will follow the floor, right? So don't lay on the floor. You want to crouch down, be a smaller target, but the bullets will skip and follow the floor.
Previous, they've changed out a lot. Especially children told like hide in the closet, and then they were like sitting ducks.
Hiding in the closet can be a good option.
But if you have
It,
15 students,
it could be an option. So at the Virginia Tech shooting, what was that, back in 2012, there were a couple of students who survived because they hid in a closet or behind a cabinet door or something like that. So it's concealment, it's not cover, right? But it might be a good option. What else? Yes, ma'am. Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. I mean,
Like, because I'm a lector, like the AMBO, you know. Concealment.
that's concealment, yeah. If that's what you got, take it. It's pretty sturdy, right? It's pretty sturdy wood. Let me take a look. Also, the further you are away, the smaller a target you are. At double the distance, you're a quarter the size of the target. So you're a lot safer back here than you are next to the door. Yeah, maybe. If that's what you got. Before you make a run back here around this corner, and then you get out, and then you make your 911 call. Yeah. What else? Probably. It might be good to duck down first and then to crawl around the corner, depending. It all depends on how. You got to remember, the person who's doing this is not a Navy SEAL, right? These are not tactically trained shooters. They maybe play some video games. Maybe they practiced a little bit, probably not. But they have the same visual pathway limitations as everybody else. It's going to be loud. It's going to be chaotic. The only advantage they have over you is they know it's happening. And once you accept that it's happening, they lose that advantage. Sorry, they also have a weapon. They have two advantages. They have a weapon and they know it's happening. But once you accept that it's happening and you take action, they lose that advantage. What else? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to go. I mean, when we come to church here on Sunday, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I think about what I would do with my kids if I could get them up in a hurry and out a side door, you know, put my body between. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir, or yes, ma'am.
how can you create a distraction without becoming a target?
That's a tough one. How do you create a distraction without becoming a target? Oh, it depends on if you're in the line of sight or not, right? Now, if you're in the line of sight, you're already a target. If you're out of the line of sight and you can slam a door or make a bunch of noise or something like that, but if you're out of the line of sight, you should evacuate if you can. Or you could wing this at somebody. You have something you would throw at somebody's face? That's pretty good. That's distracting. We're going to have fun with this here in a few minutes. If you want to play. You don't have to play. What else? It's a tough problem. Yeah. It is. It's the same thing in schools with little kids. It's a much more difficult problem. I mean, the same principles apply. Get them to an exit as best you can, lock down if you can't. But certainly it's a lot easier with the high school track team, right, than the bingo bus, right? What else?
Actually relating to the disabled, I've done live demonstrations.
Uh-huh.
And we have a girl that's got an amputee. And we were in a situation.
Yeah.
And actually, we put her in a chair that had wheels on it.
Mhm.
She took off both her prosthetics. When the guy we thought was down forward, we just pushed her like the bejeebies, and
Yeah.
we got to our safe area without him being able to attack. So you
Yeah, you can do it. It's more difficult, right? Again, but schools, and especially in the special ed space, they have to practice differently. They have to be a little more prepared. If you have someone in your family that has mobility issues like that, then it's something to think about, right? Again, we're not going to no one's going to go home and like have nightmares about this, right? We're not going to wake up at 3 in the morning like, oh, what am I going to do? We're not. But it's a factor. It's something to be concerned about if that ever happens. What else? How are we doing? You guys feeling good? Good, bad, indifferent? Did I scare anybody? Just rat me out to Father later if I did. It's my fault. All right, let's take a few-minute break. I need a couple volunteers. I'm going to need 2 volunteers to be the bad guys. And then we're going to come back. No! How many times I tell you? No. Well, we'll get there. And we'll do a couple scenarios. So we'll have everybody leave. We'll set things up. If you don't want to participate, if you just want to just watch, just sit in this section over here. That's totally fine. If you have mobility issues, if you don't exercise a lot, I don't want nobody falls, right? We're not going to put the kneelers down. The first rule of training is don't get hurt training. So nobody's going to get hurt. But we'll run through a couple different scenarios if you guys like. Or if you want to leave, you're welcome to leave. Okay. Here's me. Everybody take maybe 10 minutes to have a bathroom break, chill out, and then I'll grab a couple volunteers, and then we'll come back in and we'll set up for the scenario, okay? Thank you. You guys hear me again? My mic, am I good? All right, everybody take a seat, but spread out through the church like you would on a normal Sunday. And can I get somebody to act as a reader? What do you want? How do you want? Have we lecturer up there? Okay, great, go up there. Can I get a couple ushers in the back, maybe? Okay, great, a couple ushers. Everybody spread out a little bit. Again, this is the non-exercise section. This is the observing section, right? You might want to get closer to some of the exits, I don't know, depending on where the shooter comes from or doesn't. Zara, we're not filming this portion, right? No, I would say no.